Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your WWE Backlash 2016 preview and predictions. We have got 6 matches. John, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit surprised that we only have 6 announced matches on this card because it seems like we're going to be sticking with the 3-hour pay-per-view format, and I don't really know how the hell they're going to pull this off.
Yeah, partner, you and I had a little bit of a discussion prior to recording about the pay-per-view structure for brand exclusive shows. Backlash is Smackdown exclusive. I was operating under the assumption that, well, since we're doing brand exclusive shows now and we're no longer doing collaborations, save for the big 4, that they would be scaled down to 2 hours. I mean, that just made sense to me. But knowing they're sticking with 3 hours, I'm just as perplexed as you are. How are you going to do that, especially with only a 6-match card, unless you give each match, or at least a majority of the matches, a considerable amount of time?
I really don't want a 30-minute Ms. Ziggler match, I got to tell you.
I'm right there with you, partner, so I don't know exactly how they're going to resolve that issue, but regardless, I'm very much looking forward to this show. I know we usually open up preview predictions by kind of giving our numeric scale on a scale of 1 to 10 for how hyped we are for particular shows, and with Backlash, I got to tell you, really thinking about some of the matches and the potential aftermath and the gravity that some of these matches contain on the card, I'd say my anticipation is about like an 8.5 to a 9 right now for this show. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh my. You kind of set me up for this, man. I'm hovering around a 6 for this show, brother.
Really? Like, why do you think that is? Let's explore that a little bit.
Mostly just because I'm not really confident that anything really good is going to happen on this show or anything really interesting in particular.
And, you know, that's certainly well-founded.
Really, I think the match I'm looking most forward to has no stakes, and that's Orton Wyatt. Ambrose Styles, I'm sure, is going to be a solid match, but that's not really something that I care enough about for me to call it like an, oh my God, I can't wait for this match kind of thing. The 6 women's tag match, at least it's elimination. That's all I can say about that. I'm glad it's an elimination style. That makes me happy. To a finish still, I'd probably be pretty annoyed, but at least it's elimination. But I really don't care about the tag team situation at all. The Usos being heel at least interests me a little bit, but that's about it, and I don't think they're going to win. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, man, the Miz and Ziggler does nothing for me. You know, this card. Let me just put it this way. This card does not look bad, but it also doesn't look good enough to really get me up out of my seat and interested in it.
See, now this is probably going to be why this will be one of the more interesting preview and predictions you and I have done in some time, because this is one of those rare cards where I don't want to say for every match, I don't want to commit to a statement like that, but I'd say for most of these matches, I don't think what you would call a unique outlook, but certainly an optimistic outlook. And I do think even when SmackDown has its lulls, it's still the more consistently written show, like the better written show more consistently than Raw is, which is why I'm probably so anticipating their first exclusive pay-per-view show. Because, yeah, I could really see them coming out with guns blazing. But enough talking about all the preliminary stuff and all the feelings. Let's dig right into this card.
Okay. I mean, I typed out the card in the description for those of you that want to follow along with us. And as you can see, the first match that I'm anticipating happening on this show is the Usos versus the Hype Bros. And I got to say, John, I think it's pretty clear to both of us that the Usos are winning this.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I don't want to dwell on this particular match for too long, but I love the fact that the Usos are heel now. If only they could make that same commitment to Roman, but we've discussed that to death. At least they've done it for the Usos, and their heel turn on American Alpha. I thought it was done perfectly, because here I think we were all expecting some kind of 15-minute clinic on SmackDown, you know, given that it's the freaking Usos and American Alpha. They get squashed in like a minute, and they snap. They just break apart Gable, destroy his leg, and lay American Alpha out. Now they've given themselves this opportunity. I don't see the Hype Bros advancing at all. I could see them on SmackDown being that babyface team that eventually, maybe within a year or two, gets a tag title run, but it is way too soon for them. Yeah, Usos are very easily the choice you should go with here. So Usos for the win all the way.
Yeah, as recently as they've turned heel, I don't think that there are very good odds of them losing this first match at least.
I completely agree with you, man.
Okay, that's easy enough. Let's move on to what I have kind of dubbed the second least important match of the night, The Miz versus Dolph Ziggler. Now, before we get into this, I do want to say, both of these guys have been absolutely killing it on the mic, especially on Talking Smack. However, care about who wins this match. It just makes me care about these individual characters slightly more. I feel like they haven't made it enough about the championship.
See, now, I think a lot of your contentions, like, again, you know, they're well-founded. I certainly won't contend them because I do think they are rooted in an air of legitimacy from one angle or another. I think what it comes down to for this match for me, I'm not so much interested in what this match is as much as I am in what it could become. Like its aftershocks. Because I think Miz, after that Talking Smack promo, his Intercontinental Championship reign, he's kind of raised the stakes a little bit. And, you know, I wish, like you, that the focus was more on the Intercontinental Championship because you have Daniel Bryan say publicly, you know, I think you wrestle like a coward. And then you could kind of cling on to that narrative and say, well, a guy that wrestles like a coward shouldn't be the Intercontinental Champion. And, you know, maybe kind of weave it in that way. But what I will say, I think, is making me interested in this match. And again, this is pure conjecture, and I own up to that. But I wonder if, because I'm thinking Miz retains. I'll say that right now. And what I want to follow that up with is, if Miz retains and Ziggler loses, they've been saying on commentary and Talking Smack, I know you watched the latest episode with me, like, if Ziggler loses, he's been having trouble, you know, finding himself. He lost his WWE Championship match. If he loses this, like, what is that going to do to him? We may be getting a Ziggler heel turn in the fallout of this. I thought we were going to get it in the Ambrose feud. Didn't happen. It may happen here because they really seem to make a big deal out of, well, what happens if you lose this match? So I'm thinking, based purely on conjecture, that's where my interest in this match is. Miz retains, and maybe a week or two after, Ziggler turns heel. So that's my prediction.
Yeah, I could see that happening. My one question, though, John, is who does SmackDown have that can fill the shoes currently being filled by Dolph Ziggler as that upper mid-card babyface?
That's a very good question, and one that, honestly, I don't think I could really propose an adequate answer at this time, because I really do think it's a niche that he fills quite well. If Ziggler were to turn, personally, I would do an NXT call-up, and I think this might have even been a discussion on Tweetoff today that I saw. I mean, Ty Dillinger could be somebody that you could call up, and I think you really give time to establish him. He could fill that role in a matter of months. I'm sure there are other NXT talents, but I can't really call them upon my head at the moment. But yeah, I think the void can be. Beg pardon?
Hey?
Yeah, No Way Jose. That's another great fit. So I think the void can be filled. It's just a matter of, first they got to take the leap to create a void to begin with. I don't even know if they will turn Dolph heel. It's just an inclination that I have. So we'll have to see how they resolve that at Backlash. But yeah, that's really why I'm looking forward to this match.
All right, yeah, I'll agree with you. I'll sign on to what you said. I think Ziggler is going to lose and then turn heel relatively soon after. Maybe not a week or two. I don't know about that. I mean, I'm not saying that won't happen. I'm just saying I don't know if I would definitely say that that's going to happen for sure. It's a possibility, though.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I definitely think The Miz is retaining, if for no other reason, just because of how hot The Miz's stock has been.
Oh, yeah. He's white hot ever since that Talking Smack promo.
Do you know what I could see them doing?
Beg pardon?
I said, do you know what I could see them doing?
What do you see them doing?
See them having Miz win by, you know, disqualification or some kind of shenanigans or something like that on this show. And that gives Ziggler reason to go back after him for a rematch at the next brand exclusive pay-per-view. And then, like, the whole build-up to that would be, Miz, you can't beat me one-on-one. You can't beat me in a fair fight. You can't blah, blah, blah. And then we get to that show, and Miz does beat him without any kind of cheating, and that's what triggers the Ziggler heel turn.
And what's so brilliant about that is not only does it trigger the Ziggler heel turn, if it pans out the way you're kind of sketching it here, but then Miz could brag, see, you all wanted to say that the style I work makes me a coward, it makes me this, it makes me that. The only thing it makes me is still your Intercontinental Champion, and shove it down everybody's throat. So I think it works on a twofold level that I absolutely love. I think that's a great idea, dude.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm glad we had this discussion, but so let's talk about our third match of the night. The freaking mouthful. The 6-pack elimination challenge for the WWE Smackdown Women's Championship between Alexa Bliss, Becky Lynch, Carmella, Naomi, Natalya, and Nikki Bella.
You know, this match to me, I'm disappointed, not even necessarily in the match, maybe even more so myself, because I want to be excited about it, and I think to a degree I am excited about it because there are some quality women here. I mean, Becky Lynch, obviously. Alexa Bliss, somebody that I'm personally rooting for because she's really grown on me since her time in NXT as a heel. Carmella, the turnaround she's made as a heel, I think has been phenomenal. And yet I feel so deflated because I can't help but feel like this match belongs to Nikki Bella. On the go-home episode of SmackDown Live before Backlash, she tapped out to Carmella's Code of Silence. I have to imagine it's going to come down to Nikki and Carmella in the final two, and Nikki gets the win back and becomes the first ever SmackDown Women's Champion. So
it's hilarious how much I agree with you, John, because I also think it's going to come down to Nikki Bella and Carmella. However, this is Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon's show. This is the land of opportunity. I think they're going to try and emphasize that by giving Carmella the title.
Dude, if you're right, I'd freaking love it. I'd love it because I think Carmella's work as a heel, even though she's only been doing it for a brief time on SmackDown, I'm infinitely more interested in her than I ever was in her as a singles babyface. I just think her as a heel works. I mean, here's the thing. To be completely fair, I can't entirely bemoan the logic behind putting the championship on Nikki Bella because I get where they're coming from. Oh, if we give it to an established name, that immediately gives it an air of credibility. But I like where you're coming from better. Carmella may not give the championship the credibility they want for it right away from her name alone. But if her and Nikki...
But neither will any team that is currently in the running for the SmackDown tag titles.
Exactly. I happen to agree with Seth Rollins and Finn Balor, their whole approach to the Universal Championship. The way the belt looks, yeah, I don't care for it. But if guys are willing to kill each other, 10, 15 minutes for it, that to me gives it value. If you give Nikki Bella and Carmella the final two an extra, 8, 10, or however long you want to give them, because I think at that point they're both going to be pretty tired kayfabe-wise and you're going to want to wrap it up. But if you give them that little bit of extra time where they're scratching and clawing and countering each other, like that's going to make it seem like, yeah, this championship is everything to these women, especially because historically the SmackDown Championship for so many years until the introduction of that awful Divas title had nothing going for it. It seemed like we were going to enter a similar period here post-draft, and now that these women have a championship, that's everything to them. And if they could really convey that and Carmella gets away with the win, I think that would be fantastic. However, I'm still going to go with Nikki. I'm going to try and be more grounded. I do think they're going to play it more safe here, but I think Carmella would be a brilliant choice, and I would not be opposed to that at all.
I think the only reason that I'm not necessarily convinced that they're going to give it to Nikki is because of how much she has already done and how sick people will get of her as quickly as they will get sick of her if they do give her the title. Because by the end of her Divas title run, people were so ready for her to be done with that title. And I think that if you give her this title right away, people are going to start to resent her again, and they want her to be a babyface. They've proven that already. So you want her to be chasing then. You know what I mean?
Oh, dude, you're not wrong. I agree with you 250% on everything you just said. Look, if you're going to commit to a Nikki Bella face run, adhere to the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And you just said it in one sentence. Baby faces, the really good baby faces, the ones that work, are always better chasers in my mind than champions. And I think Nikki Bella doing a chase, because I can't even remember the last time she really chased a championship. I've been so used to her being just a champion, I almost kind of regard that as her default setting. Maybe because that Divas Championship reign was so ridiculously long. But yeah, her chasing Carmella for a few events, like, I'd be cool with that. Ultimately, I think Becky Lynch should be, you know, the ultimate chaser, and I want her to get her run. But if Nikki Bella has to get an obligatory run, at least make her work for it a little bit. So you and I are in complete agreement about that. I just don't think WWE agrees with us on that, and that's the rub.
So I think I am going to say, let's see if we can try and identify what the order of elimination is going to be. I think the first person to get eliminated, sadly, is going to be Naomi, because they're going to kind of treat this like almost like a 3-on-3 elimination tag match where the baby faces are going to be at a constant disadvantage. So I think Naomi's going to be eliminated first, then probably Alexa Bliss, then Becky, then Natalya, and then Carmella's going to fall.
Right.
So would you agree with all of that right up until the finish, or do you think it's going to be in a different order?
I actually agree with that right up until the finish. Yeah, that sounds fine to me, definitely.
It's a shame, too, because I really want to see more from Naomi, but I think that they're going to try and protect her, have her get the pop for her entrance, and then get eliminated almost right away.
Right. Sadly, I agree with you, but hopefully Naomi within the next year or so will get a run with that SmackDown Women's Championship, because I think being on this brand, and now that there are 2 women's championships again, I think it's time, even if it's just like a very short reign, which I wouldn't mind anyway, because she is a babyface, and we just had that discussion about champions and chasers. I do think she deserves a little nod for all of her, you know, work, and just how much she's really come into her own in this babyface character already, especially with that pop and entrance. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but I think we're all waiting for Becky Lynch to get her nod, for God's sake. So
Dude,
yeah,
I wish they would give the title to Becky Lynch, even if it meant, like, you know, Nikki Bella gets a kayfabe injury to keep her out of the title picture, but keep her looking strong, kind of like what they did with Alpha, and that causes her to not be able to be in the match, and it becomes a 5-pack elimination challenge, and then it comes down to Carmella and Becky gets the freaking disarmor and wins. That would be so awesome.
oh dude, I completely agree.
I think Becky is the only one of the 4 horsewomen that's never held a championship in WWE, because we know Bayley has held the NXT women's title. Sasha held the women's title. Now Charlotte's 2-time women's champion. Plus Sasha and Charlotte both held the NXT women's title. So Becky is the only female in WWE, in the 4 horsewomen, to have never held a championship.
And you know, when she finally does, they're going to make that the biggest talking point. They're just going to shove that in her face so hard. So Becky, out of your...
I think Alexa Bliss is the least likely to win this, followed by Naomi. The only reason I'm saying Naomi has more possibility to win than Alexa is because of the entrance, and because they want this whole new era of, like, oh, we're giving out opportunities and anything can happen, and Dolph Ziggler was our first #1 contender. Ooh, look at this. And maybe they give it to Naomi to kind of, you know, perpetuate that idea. But other than that, I really don't see her winning. And I think Alexa Bliss really just doesn't have a chance at all.
I mean, I agree with you, but the thing is, if Alexa Bliss were to surprisingly win, I'd get behind that. I do think her heel work is strong enough, but they might want her to mature even more and establish herself more as a threat and as a contender down the road. I do think the division can be something worthwhile. It's just, like, I wish I had your optimism with Carmella being the first. And if you're right, I mean, that'll be the happiest I've been about being wrong probably all night. It's just, I do think they are going to go with Nikki Bella for the first championship, which the only thing I can ask for after that is that the reign doesn't last that long, but we'll see.
Okay, so we both agree that it's going to come down to Carmella and Nikki Bella at the end. But yes. I think Carmella's winning. You think it's going to be Nikki. So very interesting little dynamic there. Now, though, let's move on to what I'm guessing is going to be either the 4th or 5th match of the night. I don't know exactly what order they're going to do it in. But the tag team championship match, the match to determine the WWE SmackDown tag team champions, the first ever WWE SmackDown tag team champions, Heath, Slater, and Rhyno versus what we're both predicting will be the Usos.
Yeah, you know, this is one of, I'd say, 2 matches on this pay-per-view card where I'm just content to sit back and watch it, because I don't think they could really make a wrong booking decision. That's not to say that I don't have a preference. I'll get to that in a second. But I could see the credence in both options. If you give it to the Usos, well, that's just going to make them so hated because they injured a man and took him and his tag team partner out of the finals to begin with. So they got here through unjust means. And then you have to imagine that they'd win the championships dirty against Rhyno and Slater. And Slater has so much riding on this outside of a championship because, again, if he is to win this, he would get a contract with SmackDown Live. So there's a lot of heat on the Usos right out of the gate, right as the inaugural champions, and you're hungry for any babyface to step up and knock them down. On the other end, you do have the Slater story, the Cinderella story of, I've been trying to get a job. I need to support my kids. And then Rhyno, they kind of have this weird friendship, and he's like, I'll help him. And they've even had genuinely touching moments. That one episode of Talking Smack, I like the interaction between the two. And then you give the happy ending of Slater winning, maybe because of returning and vengeful American Alpha. I can definitely see the credence in both of these positions, but I'd say my preference definitely goes to Rhyno and Slater. I think Slater's babyface momentum, I think they should capitalize on it now, because the thing is, I think if you tease it out too long, and I'm always worried about this, and for as much as I like slow burns, my one biggest concern consistently, especially with babyfaces, is if you drag out something too long, people aren't just going to care when it finally happens. You're going to miss the opportunity for what I'd call that peak pop. And I think that moment is here for Slater winning the tag team titles. And I think they should take advantage of it. So I am going to say Rhyno and Slater are going to win thanks to a distraction by American Alpha. Maybe Slater even gets the roll up because he's got everything riding on it. Rhino's been getting the wins up until that point. So maybe Slater gets the definitive win for the titles. So I'm picking Rhyno and Slater here.
Yeah, man, I agree. I think I was kind of waffling whether I thought they were going to give all that heat to the Usos for screwing Heath Slater, or if they were going to just let Heath have his moment. I think that the Usos versus American Alpha for the tag titles will be a match on the next show, meaning I do think the Usos will win the titles back from Slater and Rhyno between now and the time Gable gets back. But for right now, I do think that Slater and Rhyno are going to pick up the win, even if it is by cheap means.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. And see, that's the beauty if they do book it this way, because, and I want to be careful of my wording here because I'm not trying to put down the SmackDown Tag Team titles, but let's be honest here. To me, they're only a secondary benefit. The primary story here is Slater getting a contract. He can win this match, drop those belts a month later or 2 months later, and he'll still have his contract.
Or a week later.
Or a week later and still have his contract. The contract to me is the story here, not the championship. And you can either interpret that as a positive or a negative. I personally think it's more of a positive because I think the contract is more emotionally resonant because of what it means to Slater. So yeah, this reign doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be ridiculous. It just has to get Slater a job. So that's really the only means it's kind of servicing there. And yeah, Usos can win it back, and then you can have Slater do his own thing. Because to me, with this Slater babyface push, you know what I think the end game is. I think his really big moment should come with winning the Intercontinental Championship. So I don't even think he should have the tag titles that long, because I think once he has a contract, then you could start building him up in singles. All the while, American Alpha and the Usos are feuding for the tag titles. So that's kind of my vision for Slater for the remainder of the year. Brief tag title reign, and then you focus on building him up to the IC title.
Yeah, I see two possible outcomes here. I think that either what we're talking about is going to happen, and Jason Jordan's going to come out, distract the Usos long enough for Slater to get like a roll-up pin on one of them and win the titles and get the contract, and then immediately lose those titles to the Usos either the following Tuesday or the one after that, one of the next two. Or on the other hand, if the Usos do win, I think it would make the most sense for them to pin Rhyno so that Heath Slater can say that he never got pinned and that it was Rhino's fault and that he should still have a shot. He gets a singles match, which he finally picks up a victory in, maybe even against Rhyno, and then he gets a contract.
Right. Yeah, I can agree with you there. There's definitely multiple avenues they could take this. I'm looking forward to the match for that very fact, and we'll see how it all plays out.
All right. Up next, we have our most likely going to be the semi-main event and what is, in my opinion, probably the second most important match on this card, Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. And even though it's not implicitly stated, you might as well just assume that this is a number one contenders match.
Brother, I love those moments, whether it's on preview and predictions or a Twit Wow, where I'm thinking of something to say when you're done, and you pretty much say what I'm thinking before I get a chance to say it. Because I was going to say that whoever we say wins this match, it has to reverberate throughout the main event and who we're going to pick in the main event. So that's where I think the weight of this match comes from. I am immensely looking forward to this match. It's a first-time matchup. It's fresh. I think the promos these two have cut on each other have been fantastic. I think Randy, he really does seem to care in this run, and I think he's really putting his back into it. I think Bray being on SmackDown is a breath of fresh air. He's really doing singles now. He's really in the thick of it again, not with the family. And, oh, man, see, this is one, again, I'm just really looking forward to this card. This is going to be a fun show, and I don't think any result could really anger me or tick me off. But as a fan, I'm rooting for Bray so bad, but I have to give this win to Orton, especially with the hand he got dealt at SummerSlam. I think they're going to want Orton to bounce back in a major way. So I think it's going to be a very competitive match. And I think, like most really competitive Orton matches, the outcome's going to be decided because of either one mistake that Bray makes or because of, wait for it, RKO out of nowhere. But yeah, I do see Orton getting the win. But man, if this is the kind of work Bray does with a main event caliber guy like Orton, I just can't wait for Bray to get a run with that WWE Championship if he ever does, because I'm clamoring for it all over again. And that's probably the best part to come out of Bray being drafted to SmackDown in the first place. But alas, Orton gets the win here.
Let me ask you this, John.
Sure.
Do you think, and this kind of bleeds into our main event, but I've got to say it anyway, do you think that this is going to be more of a filler show, or do you think they're actually going to do some big stuff on this show and maybe, start some feuds and maybe end some feuds and make it so that No Mercy is the filler show? So basically what the question in its simplest terms is, between Backlash and No Mercy, which one do you think will be the filler show between now and Survivor Series?
Forgive me for my potential naivete, partner, but I'd have to say No Mercy. I think the idea that Backlash is the first SmackDown brand exclusive show, it's going to be the big. I think they need to make it the bigger show for that very reason. If we're supposed to believe that SmackDown and Raw are competing with each other, this is SmackDown's first time at bat with a network special. So to me, I do think big things are going to happen. And you're right, that does kind of bleed into our main event discussion, which we'll get into in just a second. But I think once they've kind of established that foundation with Backlash, I would hope that they wouldn't totally rest on their laurels with No Mercy, but that seems like the likelier show in which they would do it. So that's my mindset.
What I'm going to say.
Okay.
I am going to officially predict Randy Orton to win this match, but I don't think this is going to be the end of this feud. I think that this exact match is going to happen and be officially this match at No Mercy, because I think that, Orton's going to win this match, but then Bray is going to keep on him. And then Shane's going to come out, all right, now, you know what? These guys are going to have this match. It's going to have a stipulation at No Mercy, and whoever wins gets a WWE World Title shot at Survivor Series. And that's when Bray is going to win.
Right. I like the way you think, partner. I really can't contend that. I don't know if I would 100% sign on to that. I'm just saying that I do think your logic is sound, and I wouldn't be able to contend it from an opposing front. So you do agree with me that Randy's winning, and I could also agree with you on this. It's not going to be the end of the feud. Nothing about this strikes me as a one-match program, so I agree with you that as well. And you think Bray would get his win back at No Mercy. Do I have that about right?
Yes.
All right, there we go. I've got nothing more to add. I'm just really looking forward to this match. I hope it's really good, because I think these two could really steal the show. So we'll see.
We get to our main event of Dean Ambrose defending the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. AJ Styles.
Man, I gotta tell you, the best feeling about this, and maybe it's something with me and not even SmackDown. Maybe I'm just feeling really giddy today because I can't help but smile like an idiot because I can't remember the last time there was a main event. And obviously, with this, I do have a preference, and I'll get to that in a second. But it's like I was telling you before recording. This is going to be a main event where I just sit and I have a good time. I mean, I always have a good time, but I'm not going to be like, oh, you know, this guy better win, or I'm going to rant really loudly on Twitter, you know, because I think both guys, you really can't go wrong here. I know there have been some people on my Twitter, at John_Twitwell, where they're like, oh, you know, Dean's boring me as champ. He's phoning it in. I disagree. I still stand by everything I've said about the Dean Ambrose title reign. I think he speaks with conviction. I believe Dean Ambrose is world champion. I think that's one of the most important elements for a world champion, heel or babyface. It's that for one reason or another, I believe you when you walk out with that title. And Dean has that. So if they want to keep the belt on Dean, I wouldn't contend it. However, and this is the big however, AJ has been putting on the work of his freaking life recently. I think he's finally really comfortable as a heel. That match at SummerSlam with John Cena was fucking stellar. I've been seeing posts by people. I mean, my particular favorite, the John Report, he fantasy booked AJ Styles' WWE Championship reign. People seem ready for it. And honestly, Dean is a chaser with how obsessed he is and how hungry he is to be the man. Him chasing Styles, I think, could be a lot of fun. So you know what? I'd say my preference, even though I really like both guys, simply because of the phenomenal, pun totally intended, heel work he's been doing, I would say that AJ should win here. And that's what I meant when I said that I think this show is going to have something that pops. I think for Backlash to really stand out and fire shots at Raw before Clash of Champions, you do a big title change, and there shouldn't be any bigger on this brand than the WWE Championship. So I can't believe I'm saying this with actual conviction and not just pure longing like I did at Battleground and Extreme Rules, you know, in his feud with Roman Reigns. But I actually believe that AJ Styles might be our WWE champion this Sunday. And if he was ever to be given the belt, I think now's the time because I think his work has been beyond stellar. So AJ for the win, man. I'm looking forward to this. And if they pull the trigger on it, I think it's going to be a great fucking title reign.
Wow, you're blowing me away here, John. You're really going out on a limb and kind of taking me off. Just kidding. I agree with everything you're saying, man. Of course AJ's going to win. He just beat John Cena.
Oh, honestly, dude, you had me where I'm like, oh my God, I was so happy. And you can even hear in my voice how enthused I was talking about this match. And then here comes Ashton with his logic A-bombs about to kill all my hope. And then you're like, I agree with you. And I'm like, oh, thank Jesus. We're on the same side on this one. Oh,
dude,
man.
AJ Styles is fresh off of winning a feud with John Cena. He might as well be tiny Brock Lesnar because he's not going to lose a match for a really long time now.
Dude, I hope you're right. I hope you're fine. Because, again, nothing against Dean. I just got done saying if they do have him win, I'm not going to be that perturbed by it. But after beating John Cena in the kind of match they had at SummerSlam, he needs to be WWE champion. I'm sorry. Like, dude, just imagine the image of AJ Styles coming out the SmackDown Live after Backlash, the never give up armband on one arm, and he's got the WWE Championship slung over the other arm. And just that image to me. Maybe he even goes all out and he wears a fucking Dean Ambrose t-shirt. So it's like a juxtaposition of all this merch and bling. And he's just like, yeah, just the cock of the fucking walk. I love it. I think it's his time. I didn't think I could get into AJ any more than I was when he was leading the Bullet Club in New Japan. But man, have I been into his heel character lately. So much so that I'm really foaming at the mouth for him to be WWE champion. So I'm crossing my fingers, man. I'm ready.
Would you like to know when the last time was that AJ Styles lost a televised singles match?
When was that?
June 27th.
Wow. I hope he can keep that up, man.
Then he has beaten Enzo Amore, and this is televised. I want to emphasize that because he's been in a shit ton of live event matches, but televised, he's beaten Enzo Amore, John Cena, Dolph Ziggler, and Apollo Crews.
That's just freaking great. Man, please add Dean to that list. And here's something I want to ask you, dude. Because, like I said, I'm relieved you and I are on the same side on this one. But I'm not going to let this main event go by without you putting that analytical mind of yours to work. Now, I already told you I've seen people fantasy book AJ's title reign. And as I also already said, one of my favorites is the John Report. Now, he took an interesting route. He kind of did an inverted CM Punk. He said the reign starts out with AJ as a heel, but then he takes an interesting turn, which I'm not entirely opposed to. He had Brock Lesnar winning the Royal Rumble, and then he returned to old Royal Rumble rules now that there are two brands where you could pick which brand's champion you face at Mania. Brock says, fuck the Universal title, I'm going after the WWE Championship, and it makes AJ that very sympathetic ragdoll babyface against Lesnar at WrestleMania 33. Now, I'm not saying I agree with that, but it was an interesting approach. If AJ gets the belt at Backlash, how do you book this reign? Because I think AJ's got to be one of the hottest heels in the company right now.
You're giving me such an easy. This is a softball. Actually, it's not a softball. It's a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, but it's right over the plate, and it's the easiest thing in the world to hit out of the park. Okay. Let's see. Rematch. Ambrose, AJ, 2.
Right.
On that same show, we get Wyatt Orton. Wyatt wins. Survivor Series, AJ Styles versus Bray Wyatt for the title. AJ retains. Guess what, though? That's not all that he's going to see of Bray Wyatt, because then come TLC, we have a triple threat TLC match. AJ Styles, Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt.
I like that. That's great.
Then Royal Rumble rolls around, and guess what? Even though Bray Wyatt's out of the picture, Randy Orton's still sticking around, so we get a one-on-one match, AJ versus Randy.
I like it. I dig it a lot. Okay.
Okay, and then you said that you think Brock Lesnar is going to win the Royal Rumble. I think John Cena. What? No,
I
go
just
ahead.
wanted to correct you. That wasn't my thought. That was John Canton's thought. I said I liked it, but I didn't necessarily agree with it because I think that may be a bit much.
You said you liked it, though, so I just assumed that you're going to roll with it.
Right. Well, I'm actually more inclined to agree with you because I think I know where you're going with this. I don't want to put words in your mouth yet to let you finish, but I think I'm more inclined to agree with you if this is going where I think it is. So
John Cena wins Royal Rumble. I said this last year too, and I was wrong, but I'm rolling with it this year. However, if we are going with the old school rules where when you win the Royal Rumble, you can change brands, John Cena goes after your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, or rather your new Universal Champion on Roman Reigns.
Oh, shit. Okay, then this isn't going where I thought it was going to go. Okay. So
then we get back to SmackDown, and I don't know where the hell to go after that, because there are so many people that could be going after AJ by then. I'm hoping we get call-ups. In an ideal world, Nakamura is AJ's opponent at WrestleMania 33.
And see, I'll tell you where, and see, this is why I'm glad that I didn't try and speak for you and put words in your mouth, because where I thought you were going to go was AJ wins the Rumble, and then he finally gets that 16th world title reign at AJ's expense at WrestleMania, because the feud, I think, has reached that kind of epic status where they could have a WrestleMania match, and I would believe it. But you have John Cena going after the Universal
That's going to be Cena and Roman, though. Yeah, I think Cena and Roman is going to be a big one. If it's not, you know what? They could very easily do Cena Styles and then do Roman versus Brock.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I could dig that too.
I could see both those matches happening, or I could see Cena winning the Rumble and jumping brands over to Raw to face Roman, because maybe Roman is getting a little too big for his britches or whatever. And that would leave AJ to face an NXT call-up, whether that be Nakamura or Joe.
Right. Yeah. I love everything about the fantasy booking both you and John Report did for AJ's, right? It just shows how much potential and promise it could have. Really, the only thing I'm concerned with is what does AJ do for WrestleMania? Because he's such a hot commodity right now. Even hotter in my mind than when he first came in, and the pops and everything. Like, everybody was so excited about him. I think that excitement's only intensified seeing him now really be comfortable in this heel role and putting on clinic after clinic with people. I love your idea of Nakamura potentially.
Yeah, I was even going to just say they could still do Nakamura or Joe versus AJ, and they could still do Brock and Roman, and then Cena could face Undertaker, which is who WWE wanted him to face at this past WrestleMania.
Right. And that's another thing, too. Even if there were people in the Raw pool that we would want to match up with AJ, if they bring that back with the Rumble, like, oh, the winner gets to choose whatever champion they want to face. I mean, with Raw, I'm not saying they will do it, but, I mean, you could do Cesaro Styles, Rollins Styles, if maybe Rollins wanted to change of scenery because he doesn't want to be around Stephanie and the Authority, and he feels like SmackDown could be a safe haven. You know, maybe
that I like that idea. That's a really good one.
And you know what? That actually, now that I said it, and I say this in a good way, just reeks to me of Chris Benoit's 2004 Rumble win, because that's why he left SmackDown, because Paul Heyman said, hey, as long as you're on my show, you'll never be WWE champion. So he won, and that's why he jumped to Raw, because Heyman was a dick. Rollins could win the Rumble this year and say, well, you know, Stephanie and Triple H, they're over me. I did my business with them. Maybe he beat Triple H, and he said, even though I won the battle, I knew Triple H would never let me win the war, so I'm on SmackDown. You do Rollins Styles. That's a phenomenal SmackDown main event for WrestleMania.
Is the match with AJ Styles in it going to be phenomenal, John?
I would say so, good sir. With the work he's been doing lately, I think it's a pretty safe bet. So you know what? You said, you said Cena, Roman, and who did you say for Styles? Just one more time. Because Nakamura, I know
entirely on how things play out with Cena and the Rumble and all that stuff. So I could see Roman's opponent is either going to be Cena or Brock, and AJ's opponent is either going to be Cena or an NXT call-up, whether that's Nakamura or Joe.
Yeah, you know what? I like the Nakamura or Cena option, and you know what? For my own personal taste, because I said it aloud, I'm going to run with it. We could even see Styles Rollins, just because it just seems like the infrastructure is going to be against him in the coming months. And
you know what? I'm also going to toss this out there that we haven't discussed yet at all.
Right.
Ziggler turning heel, and we need somebody in the upper mid card to fill his spot. Who does Daniel Bryan want on his brand that's on Raw more than anyone?
He seems to be really excited about Cesaro. Unless, were you thinking of somebody else?
So we pull the trigger on a trade for Cesaro.
Yeah, that would be great. And dude, how long have you and I been
could be the one to dethrone Miz?
Yeah. So many routes they could take it. Yeah, see, this is exactly why I'm excited for Backlash. I think a lot of it hangs on the main event. And again, I won't be totally deflated if Dean retains, but I just look at the possibility of a heel AJ Styles WWE Championship run, and I just get giddy because you and I just fantasy booked a shit ton, especially you, popping names out. And then I'm thinking, well, on the Raw side, we could do a babyface Seth Rollins, and that would be amazing. Like, there's so much potential there. And WWE has been crazy enough not to mind potential before, so there's definitely a lot of precedent. I just hope that Backlash isn't one of those nights. I really hope they go all in on AJ Styles. If they give him the belt, then I really will believe those rumors that Vince wanted to sign AJ 10 years ago. Because, man, talk about bending over backwards and making up for lost time. So we'll see.
Definitely. I mean, you've got to think if they seriously let Ambrose win this match, because here's my thing. I know that they're probably going to find a way to do it anyway, but logically, if somebody challenges for the championship and loses cleanly, they should be at the back of the line. They should not be able to challenge for that same title again at the next pay-per-view. There should be a new contender.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Definitely.
I don't know. I will, and by the way, just to respond to the John Canton thing where he said that AJ would start out as a heel and eventually become a babyface as champion, I completely disagree with that. I think that is one of the worst ideas, to have a really long title reign and have it stay interesting, because to me, the reason that having somebody start as a face and turn heel in the middle of a title reign works is because in for so long, fans start to resent you. So a heel turn becomes really natural. Trying to do it the other way around is going against the grain too much, in my opinion.
Yeah, that is where the reign kind of lost. Like, I understand why he went that route, because I think he finds the prospect of AJ versus Lesnar alluring, which again is something else I could totally understand. I just think the execution could be a bit cleaner. And I don't think that's the cleanest execution you could do. I think if you're going to do a heel AJ Styles reign, commit to a heel AJ Styles reign, because it's going to make the babyface whoever beats him all the better for it. So I'm right there with you.
Actually, no, not now. That's it. Okay, so let's do this real quick, John. Do we have any kind of speculation on any other matches that might get added to this card other than the 5 or 6 that we've discussed already?
The only match I could think of potentially would be Baron Corbin versus Kalisto, and I'm Baron Corbin all the way.
Match even been getting teased since SummerSlam? I don't even remember any segments with them in them.
Well, no, it hasn't, to be fair, but like you said, if we had any speculation about any matches being added, if this is going to be a 3-hour show, I could see a segment where Corbin is trying to bully Kalisto again, and then maybe Shane or Bryan sees it, and they're like, that's not how we do things on SmackDown. You want to get at each other so bad, you're having a match tonight. So, yeah, I could see Baron Corbin versus Kalisto with a pay-per-view segment translating into a pay-per-view match happening on this card. So.
Okay. All right. I'm going to look in my my list here for the players or the people that were drafted, and I feel like all of the major non-injured, non-suspended players are actually being represented on this card. You know what? I'm going to say Demon Kane is going to have another random squash where he just comes out and kills someone.
All right, that sounds good.
And maybe we'll get like some kind of, I don't know, like an undercard tag team match. Maybe like Zongo versus someone. I don't know. That's me reaching for straws hardcore.
Right. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Pretty much the entire non-injured, non-suspended SmackDown roster is on this card.
Yeah. I think it'll be great.
For an absence, because Cena isn't injured or suspended. He's just gone for a while.
Exactly. And yet, you know what?
Man.
Kudos to SmackDown, because I don't feel the weight of Cena's absence on this card. You know, like maybe that's just how much I'm looking forward to it. Not saying that he couldn't add to it. I mean, it's John freaking Cena. I think he's been doing incredible work recently. But, you know, like if he does come back, I mean, the 2 feuds I definitely want to see this year, and I think we only may be getting one of those, Baron Corbin and Orton, or Baron Corbin Cena, because I just think the world of Corbin. I know you do too. It's time we really started committing to him and giving him bigger programs. But yeah, with Cena gone, he could take his time, and you know, we'll see how much they trust AJ and Ambrose to hold down the fort, because these are the 2 really big guys right now, them and Orton and Bray. So we'll see how the landscape shakes out post Backlash.
Yeah, the people that are left are Corbin, Kane, Kalisto, and Cruz.
Okay.
And I guess Rowan, if you want to include him, but who cares about him?
Right.
Seems to, like the Vaudevillains, the Ascension, Breezango.
You know, right.
That weren't that were in the tournament that aren't in the finals or semis.
Right.
So that's that. That's Backlash, people. That's going to be the whole show. It really probably should be a 2-hour show, or maybe it'll just be like an NXT live special where it'll go for like 2.5 hours. Like it'll end at 10:30. You know what I mean?
Right.
Any last words though, John, that you want to say about Backlash?
Nah, dude. I mean, again, I went into the show around 8.5 to like 9 out of 10 for hype. And this preview predictions, I feel like I'm a 9.5 teetering on 10, because just thinking about the possibilities if they really go all the way and give AJ Styles that WWE Championship has my mouth watering. So now it's just a matter if they're going to pull the trigger or not. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to Backlash. Should be a fun show.
Yeah, and I started at a 6, and I'll say I'm at around a 7.5 now.
Not bad. So, yeah, we'll see if Backlash can deliver the goods, man. Sunday is going to be very telling.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying what you're hearing, or if you enjoyed, I mean, if you made it all the way, because obviously we kept your attention long enough for you to enjoy the show, to like the show, so leave a physical like. Click the like button if you are still here. Make sure that you subscribe for more commentaries of this quality, if not better. And, of course, make sure that you leave some comments. Let us know what you think. Tell us your predictions. We need to know what you guys are predicting for this show. We're going to do some comparing, some contrasting, just looking at what everyone has to say. And be sure to stay tuned for our Backlash live reactions on Sunday at 8 o'clock. and we will be live streaming those.